What's up, everybody? This is Breaking the Cage Astrology TV. I am Shaman. Sorry, I had an itch. Michelle Espinosa. I prefer Bells is as a nickname. So, if you haven't ever watched this show before, this is where I channel the energy, the astrology, whatever my guides and other entities are giving me for information to help us through the week and or sometimes a couple weeks. And I'm aware, before I get into this week, this is for October 20th through the 26th. But before I really get into it and into this video, I want to say I'm aware that there are a lot of people out there who don't understand astrology or even energy for that fact, and how it really operates, mutates, manifests, marinates, and how all of that works and comes together into the oneness. I'm aware that a lot of people will follow this, but not necessarily themselves be, like number one at understanding astrology, or just don't get it, but they are fascinated with, what I'm saying because they understand portions of it. And I'm not trying to put anybody down, but I want to admit this is a very advanced show. And I try to break it down in the time frame that I have the best I can for those who are not as advanced to be able to fully understand the energies. With me saying that, there's a reason I said that, because I'm about to throw out some education here. I'm serious. This is going to be some spiritual, soulful education. And it's not just for this week. It's really some deep stuff and understanding the larger perspective of what's going on while we are operating in our moment to moment, our day to day, our week to week, and how that is changing. You've been hearing, the more you're on that spiritual journey, because some people are very new to the spiritual journey and are still learning just how to understand and cope with that. But the longer you've been on it, you've heard about the Schumann resonance, you know about the solar flares, the geomagnetic storms. I have been saying for a long time now that the planet ultimately is shifting into a new planet. This is not the first time that this has happened. However, it's not going to be finished shifting within our lifetime. We are definitely in an important part, but of that shifting, and it's trying to come back in a form to what we see as like the golden age. But we're far from that. There's still so much cesspool, hive mind mentality, matrix breaking. That's why I call it breaking the cage of what we're having to do, not to mention our bodies. We are being told all the time that you have a light body. No, you don't. Your soul has the light body. You are not in the light body. You are in the three-dimensional body, but your soul is connected to that light body, and the soul is connected to your everlasting, so to speak. We still have a long way and vibrational tuning to go before we ever get back to humans having that light body. A lot of celestial corrections are be made within our DNA makeup. And I'm saying that because we are going through major DNA changing at this time. We've been going through it. If you've been following me for any amount of time, I've spoken about this on and off. But when we just finished the last eclipse, which was considered a near, they just said almost a near miss eclipse. But it was a almost eclipse is the point. And so it didn't completely hit that heightened sensitivity. And with the amount of sensitivity we got with that last eclipse being a super moon in Aries, and a lunar eclipse, man, we really didn't need it to be stronger than that. Because people's heads, eyes, ears, heads, eye, ear, jaw, neck aches, stomach aches were happening all last week and still are. But that's not just the eclipse energy or just that super moon. This has to do with what I'm talking about. This is why I said I'm about to throw out some education here, because we're looking at the idea of understanding those solar flashes that you've heard of, those high level solar flares, and the fact that when you watch the solar flares and the Shaman, and how it's ultimately having that plummet from time to time, which is a form of cardiac arrest in the energy, where it's having to be, jolted back into, let's jolt it back into life and bring it back stronger and more potently. Our bodies is not prepared truly properly. We are not high vibrationally enough. I don't care how high vibrational you think you are. You still have a long way to go for that light body. The body, our human body, still has so many ailments, is what they just said. So many ailments that we are having to break through and correct the makeup within our DNA. And this has to do with the vibrational frequency within the DNA, learning to upgrade with the upgrading of how this planet is slowly upgrading and changing so that we can remain on it. Okay? We've been going through a major purge. And what's happening is the purging is making you want to connect with the purging, with the negative. But what we're trying to do is get rid of it. We're really trying to detox it. So when I get into the actual human blueprint this week, I'll be able to explain it a little bit better and into the chakras and so forth. But what I'm trying to say is we've been having all kinds of energies with that eclipse, that last eclipse, and that last supermoon, which was definitely going from Aries directly over to Libra and Scorpio. So this is speaking about the ear, nose, throat, neck, flexibility, what you're seeing, what you're feeling, what you're hearing in the body. All of this week is under the surface. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, under the surface. What's going on in the blood? What's going on in the oxygen? What's going on with the detoxing? What's going on with removing the waste from the system? And that goes emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically. It's not just the body, but the body represents everything that's going on with the mind and how the mind is perceiving. And Libra and Aries is the beginning point. Aries is me first energy, understanding the inner alpha, remaining an inner alpha, your character, your identification, and then go straight across to a relationship zone. And what's going on in the relationships, and where are you found within the relationships? This is dealing with your chakras, your actual body parts, like the anatomy, and how we are handling it all. A lot of this is, like I said, under the surface. What is going on under the surface? And a lot of this also has to do with Pluto. Pluto's not your main character this week, but because really Mars is. But and Pluto and Mars are in opposition of each other. Pluto would be the senior advisor here. Mars would be like, second in command. He takes his orders more from Pluto. And Pluto, you've got to understand, Pluto just came out of retrograde not too long ago, and had gone back into Capricorn, still is in Capricorn. But you were transmutating 16 years of Pluto being in Capricorn right now, and you only have a month left to get whatever transmutation out of your system out. because I think it's like November 14th or something is when Pluto finally comes in and starts making its original stay into Aquarius, starting to really push forward on that age of Aquarius with Pluto coming in. Pluto was there last year, but it wasn't there for staying. It was there to kind of go, let me assess the situation. Pluto goes into a sign for, what is it? Anywhere. Pluto was in Capricorn for 16 years altogether. I believe it takes Pluto anywhere from 12 to 30 years in a sign. Altogether, it has an orbit of 250 years. So let me help break this even more down. Pluto was just assessing what it went through in the last 16 years versus everything it had to learn, obsess over, fix, correct, find out what's wrong with over the last 300 years. So ultimately, this is ancestral makeup of going the last 300 years of what was wrong with our society. How did our society, our political arena, get this fucked up and off track? Because Pluto is death, decay, and destruction for renewal, rebirth, regeneration. It is rekindling the soul and rekindling the power of the soul, not inside, but outside of you. So what we're having right now is a deep inventory of what we are purging, what we are detoxing, what we are removing underneath the surface by exploring and identifying with what is going on in our outer reality. Even in the chart, the top of the chart is loaded. It wouldn't look like it because some of your more powerful or larger or longer moving planetary energies seem to be at the bottom of the chart, which is your more private energy, your more personal identification, inward, private. But you have dwarf planets, asteroids, and other planetary energies all over the top half of that chart. And that is looking at where are you in your motivative action, your assertive action, your self-assertive action, your action-oriented self, your free will versus being receptive, doing what you're told, putting things on wait because you're other situation or other people oriented. So where I say, watch out for that manipulation of taking care of the others first instead of taking care of yourself. I always tell people, say you have money for 2 homes. Say you have your home and then you have like a beach house or a vacation house. Well, you're not going to buy furniture and fill that beach house and have it completely extravagant if your own home that you live in the whole rest of the year doesn't have what it needs. You're going to take care of what it needs first. You can't give from an empty well. You can't continue to go out and take water out of a well when the well is dry. This is what we're talking about. Are we being more receptive to others? This is not about being narcissistic. This is not about being self-centered. This is not about just me first energy in a negative way. This is how can you love someone else and how can you help others if you can't help yourself? So we were really looking at the outer world and where we give to others what we won't even give to ourselves. Where are we so receptive that we're less assertive? Nurturing or neglecting ourselves, as well as the world that we are creating. Everything that is outside of you is created by you. So ultimately, this is a reflection of where Pluto going through that last month is going over the last 300 years ancestrally. This is what we're down to. Over the last 16 years of what we've been trying to create, this is what we're down to. The political arena and everything else, and showing its rot, like I was saying last week. We're removing the rot. We're removing the waste. We're removing the stagnance. So it's important for you to take the time to not just be self-assertive and make the changes. Like I was saying, this is your last time with Pluto being in Capricorn. Just throw shit at that wall and make it stick. Because now it's in direct motion. It's only got until, I think, November 14th, until it finally comes into Aquarius. This is looking at the outer world, and the outer world has authority because we still give it the power to have authority. So we are looking at where have we allowed the power of that outer world to take authority over us and manipulate us versus us coming into what Pluto's been trying to teach for the last 300 years and help us correct, where the only thing that has power over you is you and what you've allowed to be objectively from your own self taken outside of you and viewed in that mirror. This is where we're having problems making correction to soul correction. But a lot of this solar storms, solar flares, Schumann resonance, spiking up really high, having its really low dip down, going into its cardiac arrest, coming back into, being shocked back into, oh, I've got to come back in higher vibration. All of this is happening at the same time. And your body is trying to learn how to vibrationally upgrade. So you can ultimately, ancestrally later, get back to that light body and back to where we're really trying to create. Like I said, big picture here. And this is speaking to us of really understanding our vibrations and our manifestation have to do with what our DNA is able to harness and hold. And if it's still cluttered with, it's not even bad food. I mean, bad food, but it's energy. And you have an energy diet. The people and places that you are pay attention to, what you put your energy into, your people, places, and things are your energy diet. And if their energy diet of your people, places, and things are shit, then expect your vibration to be shit. I'm sorry. So it is your diet, but it's also, we're really talking about underneath the surface of how we're trying to upgrade our body by cleaning up stagnant energies within our chakras, really getting into the head, the ears, the nose, the throat, really getting into those stomach energies, the hips, the thighs. We're getting into lower chakras, root chakra, sacral chakra. And all of this has to do with detoxing, not purging. Cleansing the waste that still resides within, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically. So this week, just like I was saying 3 weeks ago, a month ago, when we started that first lunar eclipse, it's all about the blood. It's all about what's going on inside. This week specifically, we're looking at it having to do with the bloodstream, the lymph nodes, the immune system, the circulation, and all of this brings us back to the intake of oxygen within the energy. The oxygen that you were breathing makes energy. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically. You can't live healthy if you're not breathing. But what are you breathing? So this is speaking to us also of bring plants into the house. There are certain plants, you can Google this, you can look it up. There are plenty of plants that help bring oxygen into the house. People will buy salt lamps and put in the house because it cleans the oxygen. It cleans the energy. Having these plants like a snake plant in the house helps clean the energy. Obviously, I'm a smoker, but smoking right now is one of the worst things we could be doing because it's causing more carbon monoxide in the body, creating more carbon monoxide, which is not what you want. When right now we really need that oxygen to help level up. So look into foods, because there's too much for me to go on about. But look into foods that are very leafy iron, spinach, broccoli, leafy greens, not leafy iron. I'm saying high in iron and leafy greens. But look into foods that help bring oxygen into the body. Look into foods or drinks that help bring electrolytes into the body. Your body cannot upgrade without electrolytes, which has a lot to do with the water in the body. So you need to be hydrated. You need to be watching your oxygen intake, make sure that it's high and it's being healthy to help more or less transmutate and remove the waste. Also, with this coming down into that Libra energy, and we still have a ton in Libra, you're coming down to removing waste in the kidneys, the liver, the gallbladder. This is, the digestive system. So look into things that either detox it or help cleanse it because you are in need of it right now to be at your highest level. The body, like I said, is trying to learn how to upgrade into that higher vibration. But we have to help it. And then that helps us upgrade into a higher ascension. But all of this is coming down to Pluto's done. Just like my shirt says, I'm over it. Pluto is ready to move on. I'm ready to fix these things. I'm ready to make this come out into the world, be seen, clean it up from the inside out, and get rid of it. Trying to get us back to the direction of the age of Aquarius, as people like to perceive it, and get us moving in the right way. This is what is going on the bigger picture. Now, when we get into our blueprint itself, you have Aries energy, which is the head. Every single person has every single sign in your blueprint. This is your creation codes. But the creation codes move with you as the planets move, as the world moves. You have everything. It's just like they say, the universe is inside of you. It is. So in your Aries energy, which is the head, you have Chiron, which is on the hyroid, right here. This has to do with how you can breathe and how you can speak. It also has to do with how you're flexible. But what is it connected to? It's connected right here to the neck and right into the ears. That's also a past life chakra. Ears, nose, throat. Your hyroid is Chiron, the wounded healer. But it's also in between that and connecting up here into the eyes. The North Node, everything you need to learn in order to move forward and who you are is in the North Node right now, in how you are viewing and perceiving yourself and the world around you. What are you connecting to? What are you attaching to? That is the eyes. Then you come down into Taurus, which is technically the throat and the zeal point. Your expression, how you communicate, how you speak it to the world, how you hear it from the world. It is funky though. You've got Scorpio and Taurus both who don't stay in their energy because Taurus with Uranus is at 26 degrees and that's the actual nasal bone. Oxygen. What are you breathing? Take some time to go outside, have some fresh air, open a window. Might be cold, but you can still circulate energy. That's what I was saying. Planets. Exercise. Not planets. I was saying your plants. Bringing the plants in the house. Exercise. The nose. What are you breathing? This has everything to do with the energy you are intaking. Are you intaking oxygen that's stale and not very healthy? Are you bringing into you higher vibrations? We want to make sure we're cleaning it. We're bringing it in. We don't want to create more carbon monoxide and then have more problems. You have Gemini, which is on Jupiter. Gemini has Jupiter in it right now. But here's the kicker. It's not just that Gemini has Jupiter in it. Gemini is ruled by Mercury, which is in Scorpio. Is it? Yeah. And where's my information? Not Mercury. Yeah, I got it wrong. It is in Scorpio. But it's in Libra still. I'll come to it in a minute. But my point is, Jupiter is the expansion. It is your manifestation. It is a magnet of communication. What are you communicating? Not just in words or thinking. What is your body communicating to you? What are you bringing into the communication of how the body is working? The bloodstream, the lymph nodes, the kidneys, the removal of the waste. How are you helping it or not? Nurturing or neglecting? Anything Jupiter touches, it amplifies on. So we're talking about all communication. The way that your very heart is beating and you're breathing and you're being able to love yourself is amplified right now, or the lack of it. Communication to your friends, your families, your groups, your memberships, yourself. All of this is in overdrive. And it's on the arms. What do the arms connect to in chakras? Your heart. Life force energy, people. I'm trying to give you, like I said, oxygen, water, electrolytes. Right now, you need them to purge out, to detox and remove all of these funky, stagnant stuff that's still in us. This is how we're going to get better. You're probably seeing people who are coming down with the flu and stuff everywhere. Sometimes it's not the flu. Sometimes it's that spiritual connection of those chakras trying to clean. You've got Cancer, has Mars in it. Mars, like I said, is in opposition of Pluto this week. That's the knees directly having a conversation with the solar plexus and the sacral chakra. Relationships versus ego. Where are we connecting to our ego more than we're connecting to our source energy? Because Pluto is stuck in Capricorn, which is your knees, talking about being flexible, talking about jealousy of what we're looking at from the world. That's what all of that purging energy is coming from. It's inadequacy, inferiority, being afraid and not being able. So I have to just take, because if I don't love me, nobody else will. Inferiority, fear, anxiety. Everything is where Pluto's been stuck working and going, these are the icks, the illnesses we're trying to get rid of. But you've got to see where that's ego versus soul. Connecting back to the relationship you have with yourself first. Then the relationship you have outside of you. We don't clean up what's inside first. We're never going to clean up what's outside. So the saying, don't get caught up in the outer world, but acknowledge the changes that you're seeing in the mirror effect. You have Libra still has Juno or Jira, however you want to look at it. Libra, Lilith here, which is mainly speaking of us talking about the circulation of that oxygen, getting into all parts, getting into the bloodstream, and how it is bringing that oxygen to the body. Then you're also talking about it being on the renal system, or as most people would call it, the urinary system. This is removing the waste, the toxins from within. So this is why I said it's wanting to really look at drinking cranberry juice, things that will help you keep this all functioning at its best quality. Because this is us getting rid of these things. You have Scorpio, which has the sun in it and Mercury. Yeah, Scorpio has the sun and Mercury in it. Sun is moving into Scorpio this week. So this is illumination coming into what is Scorpio? Birth, death, rebirth. It is transformation itself. It is the ebb and flow of the change. But Scorpio is also such a major transformation. It's like a night in Vegas. I met you, I liked you, I married you. The next day, fuck you. And no, I need a divorce. I don't really know who you are. It's that cut and dry. Scorpio is often put in with fire energy because it can be that cut and dry. It is the difference between the tsunami and just nice ebb and flow river of water. It's the underworld and its undercurrent. And how well is that undercurrent taking place? That's your Scorpio and the transformation that can or can't take place because of your ability to allow it. The sun illuminating the truth in this house, but it's also in the 8th house, which is also looking at the rules, the walls, the relationships, the boundaries going on here. What makes the relationship continue to work, or what is keeping it from continuing to work? It deals with sex and responsibilities and taxes and things along this line. It is the responsibilities to these relationships and then the people within them and who's being responsible, who is not, and illuminating all of that and our personal part in it. Then you got Mercury here in communication with that major transformation going over to that Jupiter energy, amplifying it into let's amplify the fuck out of it. Scorpio is the reproductive system. Literally, it's often known in astrology as sex or shit. It literally is the birthing energy because it's the reproductive energy, or it's the waste energy, removing it. What are you bringing in and what are you taking out? Full circulation here. Then we get into Sagittarius, which now has Venus in it. And that is your lymph nodes right now. And it is literally speaking to you about draining the excess of toxic fluids in the lymph node system, which moves throughout the whole body, but it is specifically on the degree of the lymph nodes. And Sagittarius is the hips and thighs. Venus is not love. She is speaking to you about sensitive energy. She is speaking to you about what's good for you and what harms you, why it's good for you and why it harmed you. She's speaking to you about the energies that you're storing in those hips and thighs, which often have to do with lust, promiscuity, and fear. What would you do to get ahead? Is it soulfully or is it all lust, ego, higher self, or soul? We're really getting into why do you want it? Why do you need it? What will you do for it? And why will you see it from that perspective? That comes back down, ultimately, when you go all the way down to the bullshit, fear of what we're trying to change. Not to mention, you still have, like I said, Pluto in the knees. And then Neptune and Pisces and Nessus are in the feet, which are the holding on to the worst parts of us, where we're still holding on to all of that malice, all of that. And I mean like the worst parts of us, like the murderous sides that are inside. There you have, every single one of you have light and every single one of you have dark. This is connecting to the darkest levels of what we're afraid to heal in order to actually heal. Getting out of the comfort zones. Not Pluto, Saturn here is rules, walls, and boundaries, shifting the boundaries. How many times have I said, if you're stubbing your feet, you're doing something wrong. Stub your foot on the toe or in the corner, your toe on the corner or something. Twist your ankle because you're moving too fast. That's in your ego. We're talking about the ankles and the feet. Ankles are technically Aquarius, but we are talking about the feet energy here, which is Neptune. Are you creating a new world? Or are you recreating a same kind of damaged world because you haven't found your way out of it yet? The moon this week is going to be moving through Gemini, then directly into Cancer, Leo, Virgo. You're getting into your inner emotional security, your drama, yet creative energy. Can't have drama if you can't be creative. This is what makes you tick. What makes you want to be part of this life? What do you want to be part of? And are you allowed to? Are you making the time for it? Your inner emotional security is Cancer, and then Leo, and then we end with it going into Virgo. Are you making the time for it, or does it go all the way back to what I was saying in the beginning? Are you more responsive to everything that's going on outside of you and making excuses instead of what's going on inside and doing what you really want to see happen and make that happen? Can't give from an empty well, guys. You have very unpredictable energies this week. Two major ones. You have, because midweek after the 22nd, this one's going to turn into a yod, which is a creator energy. Jupiter is speaking directly with Pluto and Mercury. After the 22nd, they will connect. And this is pointing at Jupiter. The amplified energy taking place in the communication has everything to do with it. But who is it speaking to? Mercury in the 8th house, about making that transformation, changing to make the rules, the walls, the boundaries, the responsibilities in our relationships work for us, not against us. And then in the outer world, Pluto. Death, decay, and destruction for renewal, rebirth, regeneration, finding the soul, bringing it out, showing the outer world. Everything is amplified. Who and what are you communicating yourself to be? And how will you show it or change it within the relationships to make it work for you? Jupiter is also connected to higher knowledge. So this is go inward and help yourself. Help yourself. Yod is a creator energy, but Yod typically means this isn't going to be easy. This is going to be difficult. It's a challenge to step into source. And that's what this is asking you to do. You have another one, which is pointing directly at Mercury, and it is coming from Chiron and from Jupiter again. But this time, instead of it connecting with Pluto, it's connecting with Chiron. Who are you? Not who they told you you are. Stop believing in who your program tells you you are and realize who the fuck you really are. But Chiron is the wounded healer. It's all in here. And it's all underneath. Everything is what's going on underneath. What is underneath is what's trying to tell us how to make the changes of the outer world. It's not a purge. It's a detoxing. It's removing. It's not acting upon it. It's release. And you just had the full moon with release, surrender, and let go. So this is about stop looking backwards. It's time to look forward, guys. Plus you have Samhain, Halloween right around the corner. So we still have major changes. I can't get into any further because it's a recording and it won't go any more than that. So I hope that it helps you. I love you. Otherwise, it won't post. See you next week.